Okay, we're continuing with this book here, Prevent and Reverse Back Pain by Meet Pete Rogers. We're going to do the chapter on obesity. It's sort of the 7th video I've made on this. I'll just call it how to lose weight because that's the main thing I'm really going to talk about. And the point of it is that, fat people have a lot more back pain because fat does a lot of bad things to the spine. It means you got more atherosclerosis, more hypertension, more risk of diabetes. You're also got more risk of what's called epidural lipomatosis, excessive fat being stored in the posterior spinal canal, typically in the posterior epidural space, and that can compress the dural sac, okay? But now I'm going to talk about how do you lose weight. Okay, first of all, meat's always bad because meat tends to have a lot of saturated fat. That's the main risk factor for causing insulin resistance and diabetes. Diabetes is a disaster for the spine. No vegetable oil. All vegetable oil is a metabolic poison. Okay, olive oil is BS. It's just marketing extra virgin olive oil. It's a bunch of horse manure. Okay, it's bad for your blood vessels. It causes obesity. It's got saturated fat, about 11 to 14%. It's got a lot of omega-6 fat in it. Olive oil is not a health food. Whenever you hear somebody say olive oil is a health food, you should never trust them again. Okay, they're a liar, and you need to know that because there's going to be a lot of people who otherwise seem credible that are going to say that. And, a doctor can make over $1 million a year if they're paid by the olive oil industry. It's big money, okay? All right, let's continue here. So what are the things you want to know about oil? First of all, SAD diet, standard American diet. And the standard American diet is always going to be promoted. All this stuff about standard American diet, paleo, keto, carnivore. Remember, Peter Attia was being funded by Epstein. I call the paleo keto carnivore diet the Epstein diet, okay? And it's actually top secret. I'm not going to go into the details, but there are some of the high-fat phonies that have been questionably associated with Epstein diet, with Epstein. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is big money wants you eating high-fat food. You think that's an accident? You think big money is trying to help you? Big money wants you to eat high-fat foods because it makes you fat and sick. And once you're fat and sick, it reminds me of Hansel and Gretel, okay? Once they fatten you up, then they can make a lot of money off you. They just get you sick, and then you're a chump. You're going to get milked for all your money. You're going to become helpless, depending on your doctor, buying pills from them every day. Okay, is it good to walk for the back? Yeah, here's a picture of me at my old house walking around. I used to walk in circles all the time reading. My wife would say, "What the F is wrong with you? Why do you read so much? You're not normal. You're autistic." And I'm like, I like reading. It's relaxing. I mean, it's a chance to get a little exercise. So people who don't read can't understand people who read. People who read, it's obvious. The reason I read a lot is because that's where the information is, and I want to learn. Okay. And it's real good for your back. It improves blood flow to the spine, gets the nitric oxide going. I can read better on a treadmill. I know that if I'm sitting around, in the afternoon after I've been working on a book chapter or something all day till about 2 o'clock, and in the afternoon then, my concentration starts fading. But I get on a treadmill, I can walk for another 2 hours and I can concentrate great, and I can read really complex stuff. Because your brain is designed to pay attention while you're walking. You have to head towards your destination, navigate obstacles in your path. You have to look out for predators. You have to remember how to get back. So everything perks you up. So walking makes your alertness go way up. Okay, and then you can gradually build up. I find it very easy to walk 5, 6, 7 miles and pleasant. Okay, and you can still read and concentrate at a pretty fast speed. You can concentrate and read at up to 3.5 miles per hour of walking, which is fast walking. So it's good exercise. And then it increases your sleep drive. You sleep better. Okay, fat meat eaters end up, with a bag full of pills and then a bag full of surgeries, and then they drop dead and they're placed in an oversized casket, okay? And who gets fastest? Who gets the fattest? The more fat you eat, the fatter you get, like McDougall said. The higher the percentage of calories from fat, the fatter the patient gets, the more people in the population are fat. So the worst off is all these people who eat processed food. Then the paleo keto carnivores, ovo pesco lacto vegetarians. Then single subtype vegetarian, high-fat phonies, low-fat vegan, no oil, they're the best off, okay? And these populations where people are skinny, they're eating like white rice, 90% of their calories, 1% of calories from fat with white rice. Same thing with potatoes and sweet potatoes, 1% of calories from fat. Lentils, only 3% of calories from fat. Black beans, 4% of calories from fat. Fruits also are very low in fat. Some of them, a little bit high in the sucrose, but And fruits is a complex subject. I'm not going to get into that right now because I know there's all kinds of debate all over the place on fruits. And the bottom line is I think they're a very good food. I think McDougall would say 90% of calories from starch, 5% from fruits and veggies. But he was working with middle-aged and older people who are not exercising much and are trying to get better from a disease, need something simple to get them started. But for a healthy, active, younger person, I think it's perfectly fine to eat more fruit. I eat 35 to 40% of my calories from fruit. But fruit's complicated. It's kind of expensive, difficult to store, all those other things. Okay. What about fat vegans? Fat vegans are usually philosophical vegans, animal rights vegans who eat a lot of high-fat food, or the people tricked by the high-fat phonies. What is the difference between health and philosophic vegans? Okay, well, health vegan, you're trying to keep your arteries open. Philosophic vegans are usually phonies, in my experience. Okay, what did McDougall say about fat? The fat you eat is the fat you wear. It's the biggest toxin in the Western diet. All fat is atherogenic, every single type. And if you eat any naturally chosen diet, you'll get enough omega-3 and omega-6. Nathan Pritikin reviewed all the literature on fat, and he said fat is bad. Okay, what do I say about fat? The two most dangerous words in the English language are good fats. For the average American pro, the phrase good fats turns them into blubbering idiots, and then they just eat their way into becoming fat, sick, and stupid. I know people who are otherwise smart, and they sit there and they'll have cups full of almonds on their desk, okay, eating all that crap, okay. What did Ayn Rand say about the truth? The truth is only for those who seek it. And if a man makes his decisions based on incorrect information, then he becomes his own destroyer. That's what most people do. They just destroy themselves. And then they go to the doctor for help, and the doctor doesn't know what to do, and they're screwed. That's a typical medical outcome. Big fat body, you need to pump blood around a big fat body. More tissue, pressure goes up. You also have more inflammation, other problems. Okay, why is hypertension a big deal? Because hypertension damages arteries and it results in end organ damage. What are examples of hypertension-related end organ damage? Brain damage from ischemia, strokes and bleeds, kidney failure, blindness, impotence. Back pain due to worsening atherosclerosis of the aorta, lumbar arteries leading to degenerative disc disease. Okay, and by the way, if you're taking any pills for diabetes or hypertension, you need to work with your doctor to titrate the dosages. Because if you go low-fat vegan, your weight will come down so fast, your blood pressure will come down so fast, probably, depending on how calcified your arteries are. Your blood sugar will come down so fast that you're going to need to decrease your dosages, otherwise you're going to be hypotensive, blood pressure too low, or hypoglycemic, blood sugar too low. Here's just a quick chart on caloric densities. Basically, oil is the most caloric dense, 9 calories per gram. Meat's about 4 calories per gram. Nuts and seeds are super high caloric density. They're really fat, like 6 calories per gram. Whereas, a lot of these starches, they're only 1 calorie per gram. That's because there's so much fiber. It's not just carbohydrate, it's a lot of fiber. And that's like, in general, that's most of them. Okay, so that's really good. And then veggies are even lower in caloric density, 0.1 calorie per gram. Okay, so part of your satisfaction and hunger is stretching your stomach. And you'll stretch your stomach very fast in this way. Okay. Okay, Dr. McDougall and Chef AJ were both big advisors of people, minimize your caloric density and you'll lose weight. The more veggies you eat, the more you lose weight. Chef AJ would say eat your veggies first and you'll lose the weight faster, okay? Okay, what's the best way to eat weight? Just imitate what skinny people do. Eat a low-fat, low-sodium, 100% vegan diet. You'll lose weight. I recommend the primarily starch-based diet like McDougall, but, if you're exercising a lot and the fruits aren't too sweet, and you could probably do fine with fruits, but if you're having a problem with the fruits, then go to the starch more, okay? But it's low caloric density. The reason starch is so great, it's basically carbohydrate wrapped in fiber. It takes time. Well, first of all, the fiber lowers the caloric density so it stretches your stomach. There's really satisfaction and hunger. Then as it travels through the intestinal tract, it takes time for all the digestive enzymes to peel the fiber away from the carbohydrate that's absorbed into your blood. So you get prolonged satisfaction and hunger. It's like a slow-release energy pill. And you eat a simple sugar, you get the first curve here, sort of like teal, aquamarine blue, and your sugar blood glucose level peaks quickly, but then it comes down rapidly. You get rebound hypoglycemia if you're sensitive to that. Whereas when you eat starches, your blood glucose comes up a little bit. It's supposed to, but it stays It doesn't stay peaked that much, and it stays relatively normal a prolonged amount of time. You get prolonged satisfaction and hunger. You know, the best thing for that is beans. Tons of fiber in beans. All that stuff makes you skinny. Okay, this is about the same thing. Basically, starch keeps you in the Goldilocks zone of a nice normal blood sugar a very prolonged amount of time. If you eat the simple sugars, like I said, you peak too fast, you end up with rebound hypoglycemia. The pancreas will have a tendency to overcompensate. If you eat fat first, the fat causes insulin resistance. Then the subsequent carbohydrate that you eat after that will give you a prolonged blood glucose level, hyperglycemia, because the fat had caused insulin resistance in advance. Because the fat just floods into the muscle. The muscle can't stop it from flooding in. The flip-flop maneuver to get in. This is just a picture to show you what I look like. I was, I got fat in my 30s. I'm only 5'9". I ballooned up to 220 pounds. Okay, it was rather embarrassing for me. I'd never been fat before in my life, and I did a bunch of things to get skinny. But I was having a little trouble then when I started, I reading the McDougall books, and I actually corresponded with Dr. McDougall through email for a while. Then I lost all the weight and I got skinny. I dropped down to like 154 pounds. Okay. I actually also moved to a house where I could exercise a lot more. I had a pool, had a lot of nice stuff there. Okay, and then, what are you supposed to do? The way you'll be healthy is just live like Adam and Eve, but keep your indoor heating and plumbing. Genesis 1:29, I put plants on the earth that will be food for you. Some dietary 20 commandments for optimal weight loss. Thou shalt not eat meat. Thou shalt not eat dairy. Thou shalt not eat ultra-processed foods or artificial sweeteners. Thou shalt not eat fried foods. Thou shalt not eat food with oils. Thou shalt not drink caffeine. Thou shalt not add dressing to thine salad. And then what you should eat. Eat organic, single ingredient, filter your water, minimize fat, minimize protein too. You lose weight faster when you eat lower protein. Exercise every day, at least a little bit. Eat veggies at the beginning of the meal to stretch your stomach. Only foods you need are starches, fruits, and veggies. You'll probably end up needing B12, but B12, I'm going to get back to you in maybe a month or two. I'm currently reading about B12 to figure it all out. I can tell you in the past what I've done is take methylcobalamin. Okay, I would never take cyanocobalamin. Okay, have a strong sense of purpose, lowers your stress levels. Try to get adequate sleep every night. It often means going to bed earlier. Get some sunshine for the vitamin D and the other many benefits. Being religious lowers your stress level and they're healthier. All right, Spartan vegan diet. I'm not going to get into all this right now. There's sort of the pyramid for the Spartan vegan diet. Social stuff on the bottom, starches, fruits, veggies, okay? And basically the benefit of low-fat vegan is you avoid all the major Western chronic diseases. You minimize the risk of diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, heart attack, stroke, impotence, and cancer. Why wouldn't you want to do that? It's better than all the other diets. There's no comparison. SAD diet's disaster. The East Asian diet with all the white rice is good. The main thing that got them in trouble is they're smoking a lot of cigarettes and using tons of sodium, tons of salt. The Indian diet, the main problem with them is they fry too much food. They still got some dairy in there, the ghee and the yogurt, but the main thing is most of them eat too much fried food. That's what causes them the main problems. Okay. Why not eat low-fat vegan and be healthier in every category? Anyways, that's it for this video today. Hope you found that helpful.